What is going on, guys? Jack here, and welcome to my Ultimate FM 2020 11. Yes, in this video, I am going to assemble the best team I can from all my players across all my Let's Plays this year on Twitch and on YouTube. In this video, I attempted initially to nail down the best 11 possible. It wasn't possible. I've given myself a bench just because I was not going to be able to nail it. It was like picking between my children, okay? Please understand. If there are any players that I have not included that should have been in this video, fight the case for them down in the comments. Additionally, if you're coming into this video a little bit late, maybe you've only just discovered the YouTube channel and you feel like, hey, these players look good, I want to see where they came from. Down in the description, I will link all the playlists for the different series these players kind of emerged from. Feel free to check them out. I think we can mostly vouch for the fact it's good binge-watching material. Shall we get into the goalkeepers? Oh, this was right, do it, but this was tough. You might not agree with this first call, I'm sorry. Smoljo, Morrigan. Smoljo, Morrigan. Smoljo, Morrigan. Smoljo, Morrigan. I don't know which the right answer is for the goalkeeper. I can't put one of them on the bench. I don't use a goalkeeper on a bench in Football Manager. I feel like Smoljo is that exciting girlfriend you had in high school. You had your first experiences with her. She showed you the world. She opened up your eyes to what was around you. Morrigan's the person I settled down with. And you know what? At the end of your life, who do you treasure the most? You treasure the person you settled down with, don't you? Morrigan. You're in the team, boy. Number one in my heart too. Yeah, what a goalkeeper Morrigan was. He has to be the goalkeeping choice. I wasn't actually sure which to pick on this one. Originally, I thought I'll do a Twitter poll. So I did the poll, and loads of you voted for Smoljo, and I didn't like the result. A bit like Trump in the election. I'm recording this before the elections happened. If that's not aged well, I'm sorry. But Morrigan is he's the one you settle down with, you know. I feel like he saved penalties in Champions League finals, and whilst in the last year at Tower, maybe he didn't do everything. Maybe he wasn't that starting goalkeeper because I decided to get the high school sweetheart back for one last hurrah. Ultimately, Morrigan was here from the beginning in terms of the rebirth of Tower. Following our relegation, we got him in for £1 million from Milan. A player who was really disregarded by Inter Milan, and we gave him a second lease on life. And when you look at it, what an incredible turn of form. 25 clean sheets in a 38 game season. Genuinely, that is absolutely phenomenal by any goalkeeper standards. And what a signing for £1 million as well. Came in, developed very, very late, and ultimately I feel like, you know, he has to be in this list. I'm sorry to the Smoljo fan club. I know you guys exist, but Smoljo, yes, he was nice in the early days. You know, we had a few seasons with him here and there. He wasn't here through thick and thin. He buggered off to PSG for 34 million. I spent 150 million just to get him back. Oh, why did I spend 150? Look, Morrigan is the pick. Morrigan, you're in the goalkeeping position, my friend. Rebel in the comments if you voted in that Twitter poll and you're not happy with it. Or also, if you don't follow me on Twitter. Yeah, look, there's a little pop-up at the bottom. You can't click on it, but down in the description, at WorkTheSpace. I'm well funny, I promise. Let's move on to the rest of the defence. So starting off the defence, we have to have one of the legends of the climb, Hugo Robert. Yes, retired at 30 years old, sadly, but way back when he was a captain at our club, he was the player leading the line at the back. And bizarrely also going forward, 21 goals in 107 games for a centre-back is not a bad little return, is it? It was like men against boys when he played. It was like playing junior football where he was just taller than all the other kids his age group and he could get on the end of absolutely everything. And whilst I highly doubt he's going to become a household name of real-world football, certainly in the Luzenak universe, Captain Fantastic deserves a spot on this team as just one of the most memorable goal-scoring centre-backs in recent Football Manager memory. I feel like every Football Manager save needs a goal-scoring centre-back. And over on Twitch, where we live stream, if you didn't know, that's twitch.tv, live streaming Football Manager. As soon as the beta drops, expect the live streams on the regular once more. And, over on Monopoly, yes, this is a world that exists. Jose Sosa is that goal-scoring centre-back. Yes, in Monopoly, by the way, save in Italy, we did seasonal recaps here on YouTube. This man, well, first and foremost, he broke my blooming skin. He's got too many pros that there's a scrolly bar, and I absolutely detest it. At 22 years old, you might look at it and go, that goal-scoring record for Argentina ain't that impressive. Take a look at it at club level, and I realise this is just the league goals. This guy has multiple hat-tricks, signed from Boca Juniors for 41 million. If we just click through here, you can see his overall goal-scoring record. 12 goals that season, 10 that season, 6 this season, and, well, a whole load more this season as well. He's just absolutely phenomenal. I really can't stress how ridiculous Jose Sosa is. And just a titan of a centre-back as well. 22 years old, a player we've built an entire team around, a weapon from set pieces, and a player who strikes fear into the heart of all opposition. I don't always nickname players in Football Manager, but this man deserved the nickname that he got, The Mole. You might be sat there thinking, Jack, why is this guy called The Mole? It's because he's got 6 blooming vision. He can't see a thing. Did that ever hold him back? Did his inconsistency prove to be a problem? Why is he rated 2 stars? How is he in this list? I'll tell you why. He's blooming brilliant. Yes, signed for £12,000 for Monopoly in Serie B. And whilst his numbers aren't the most incredible, there was one year where he got 1 or 2 assists away from the Serie A record for assists in a season, whilst having 6 vision. I mean, a phenomenal fullback, can play defensive mid as well, a fan favourite. Also scored a fair few bangers over the years at very weird moments. A perfect example of a player who, whilst he perhaps wasn't born with the talent required to be a footballer, he had the work rate, he had the determination, and he made it work on the pitch. A fan favourite, one of my favourites as well. He endeared himself to everyone who came across him. The Mole. I'm trying to think of something to do with them. Go enjoy your life in your hole, my friend. You deserve it. Rest up. And yeah, we'll see you next spring. Maybe. So the second Taulor player to be in our team is one that I think most people will agree with. But I feel like I always had this guy as a personal favourite. I can't deny it. I have my favourites in my save games. Andre was one such player, the 27-year-old Brazilian at the end of things. He joined us the same year that Morrigan joined us, that championship year following our relegation. And whilst he didn't put in the craziest numbers, he came up with some very, very big goals. He scored the goal to take us to the Champions League final, the goal that knocked out Manchester City in that semi-final. And you know what? He just popped up with big goal again and again and again. And let's not forget, that was all after we rejected a £140 million bid for him. That bid came in. I could have taken it. But no, my favouritism meant the money was not enough. And I think when you look at him, what an incredible, kind of well-rounded player. Much deserved of a spot on this countdown, if you ask me. You know, was part of our championship team and then really took the step up as we stepped up into Europe, as we stepped up into challenging for Champions League. This guy was here. He went through thick and thin with us. A world-class midfielder in the eyes of the media. Incredibly well-rounded. And yeah, as you guys know, I always had a soft spot for him. So of course he was going to be in this list. Every midfield needs that playmaker, that player who gets things going. Hannibal Mejbri is one such player. When we signed this guy on a free transfer for Monopoly, it felt absolutely mad at the time. A massive coup, and it turned out to be exactly that. A player who guided us to a Serie A title with 7 goals and 6 assists. We built a wall in his honour, the Hannah Wall, because Mejbri, you're going to be the one that saves me, because after all, you're my Hannah Wall. It's clever, isn't it? Players who get chance, they deserve special, like, extra points in the system used to decide whether or not you make it into the best 11. What an incredible player Mejbri was. Not a player you very often see go to a minnow like Monopoly, but we made the most of him. He stuck around for the long haul. He was part of my France team that we took to a World Cup final, where we don't talk about how the final finished because it wasn't particularly a fond memory. But Mejbri, incredible player this year. If in a few years you actually develop and end up playing for Manchester United's first team, as a Liverpool fan, I'm going to be a little bit torn up on that, but please don't. It's not always that common that you have players who come from your academy in a YouTube save game especially that really, you know, propel themselves into the first team. But Kofi definitely deserves to be in this list because whilst, yes, he ended the save game at aged 22, he was just a phenomenal player for us who came through the academy and went from strength to strength. It's always special, isn't it, when a player comes through the youth team academy and he's just good enough to throw straight in the first team. That was the case with Kofi, and yes, whilst his final season was disappointing, he consistently got double-figure goals as he played for us at 4 different levels, and of course went on to establish himself as very much a League quality player. The only regret I really have is that when we holidayed into the future of Luzenac to see what happened after I left, he went on to be a France international. He went on to lead the line with Man City. There is always going to be a small part of me that wonders, what if I had another 10 seasons that I could just play on? What could Kofi have achieved? I guess that will have to remain a mystery. He's Sonny the best. Do. He's better than not really anyone. On the pitch, at least. Sonny Best, ladies and gentlemen, he had to be in here. It wouldn't have felt right if he wasn't on the wing for us. And I realise, if you didn't watch the Tau Law series, you're now sat thinking, why has this guy got 9 caps for England? Who is this man? I feel like if I show the career stat, it's going to explain even less. I will just quickly flash up. This is what he used to look like back when he was a player. Drink that in. Now, you might be thinking, how's he on this list? Let's be honest, in the early years, he was absolutely phenomenal, imperative to our early promotions, and whilst he did phase out the first team on the pitch very quickly, we kept him around for many, many years, and upon his retirement, we gave him a home as not only Tau Law coach, but also as England coach. And of course, even after I left England, he stayed as an England coach, and when we did the Tau Law in the Future videos and looked at things, he was still an England coach in his 60s. That degree of commitment deserves just a legendary status. 35 plus years he was an England coach in the end. And what a player he was back in the day for us as well. I think for many people, Sonny Best's name is a name that's just going to stick in people's minds for a very long, long time to come, even if he never makes it in the real world of football. Here in our Football Manager universe, he made himself a legend, and that is the beauty of Football Manager at the end of the day. There were some positions in this video that were really hard to pick out a player for, or, choosing between them. The striking position wasn't one. There was one name that was just the first name on the team sheet, and you all know who it is. It was Andrei Schwetsov, everyone. Yes, 29 years old. What a player. What a player. Whenever I drink a vodka for the rest of my life, I'm just going to think of Andrei Schwetsov. As I pour out a shot, I will dedicate it to a fictional Russian footballer, and I have no regrets whatsoever. The beauty of Football Manager. Yes, what an incredible player Andrei Schwetsov was. Of course, joined on a free transfer, 10 years of regular first team football, 2 of those years, sadly, in the Championship. And he went from strength to strength. Yes, he got 33 goals in a season where we were relegated. And then once we returned to the Premier League, whilst we were in the Champions League spots very quickly, he didn't quite find that groove until 2035, where he got 36 goals, and then lightning struck twice just 2 years later, where he got another 36. In his final season at the club, he got 50 goals, if I'm not mistaken, in all competitions. The guy's nuts. I think that's as simple as it goes. The best striker I had this year in Football Manager. Perhaps the greatest regen of any of my save games ever. I just feel like what he contributed, the stuff he did, scoring 10 goals in one competitive match. I don't see a world in which that's ever going to be met. Double hat-tricks are unheard of. 10. I was worried I was going to run out of fingers. It was that many. My toes were prepared. Anyway, I could just fawn about this guy all day, every day. Let's move on. Andre, my friend, I love you. You're special. Oh, how am I going to follow this up? How are you going to follow this up, Jack? Of course you're going to follow it up with his partner in crime, Dylan Turnbull. It's very rare that I have a player come through my youth academy that really develops into a superstar. Dylan, look, the last few years weren't quite as exciting as Andrei Schwetsov's. I can hold my hands up and admit it. But you are a legend, mate. Of course, he was also a player who came out as gay in his very young years. And whilst that didn't really affect the antics on the pitch, it made him, I guess, a player under the microscope of world football. A player who people were going to take notice of. And did they take notice of him for his sexuality? No. They took notice of him for his performances on the pitch. What an incredible player this man was. 24 goals in that year where he got promoted from the Championship with us. And whilst, you could be forgiven for thinking he lived in Schwetsov's shadow, I think he casted his own shadow at the end of the day. 43 appearances for England, 34 goals, and whilst, as I said, the last few years, they weren't quite as exciting, the fond memories were already built. A player who came for our academy with 20 aggression whenever a striker goes sliding in for a crunching tackle with the goalkeeper and gets there first. This is the man who I'm going to think of, because that was just what he did. Dylan, you were part of a double act. You might not be the more popular part of the double act. You are the ant to Deck, but you're special to me, and you deserve a spot in this best 11. Now, compared to the previous couple of strikers, this guy doesn't really compare to them in terms of his attributes. Oddvin Unaland, yes, a player legendary for having 9 finishing, and then eventually it went up to 10. But just consistently coming up with huge goals in huge matches. Ignore the scouts saying he doesn't enjoy big matches. He absolutely blooming does. Signed for £1.7 million for Monopoly. In the first couple of years, he chipped in with really decent goal totals. And whilst you might look at it and think, well, in more recent years, he's not done a lot, chat. Let me tell you now, you cannot underappreciate the importance of the goals that Oddvin has scored. A player who sits on the bench, ready and raring to go. And when you call upon him, he just so consistently does it. And against all odds as well. He was born with terrible finishing. He shouldn't be a good striker. And yet, he just seems to finish everything that you give him. Be that a plate full of food or a chance in the 6-yard box. Oddvin is there. He endeared himself to the Monopoly faithful. And you know what? He's not a Schwetsov. He's not a Turnbull. But what he is a Unaland. And you know what? The number 10 now is just going to forever be associated with him for me, and I'm sure many of you who watched him banging goals on the regular over on Twitch. So there we have it, the starting 11. But before we wrap up this video, we need to do a bench. I tried to get more names into the starting 11. It turns out you can only have 11 players on the pitch. There may be a lack of defenders on the bench, but there were some names who were just too good to pretend didn't exist. So let's have a look at those 7, shall we? Whilst he might not be in the starting 11, it wouldn't be a best of 11 this year without Henry Kumwenda. Look at that smiley face. I feel warm and fuzzy inside just looking at him. 100 goals he got, a centurion in his own right in 162 games. A player whom in real life is just signed for Hull City. And if you're a Hull City fan, take care of my boy. Yes, a truly special player. A player who was a legend at Towlaw. And of course, when we holidayed into the future, he got the stadium named after him, Henry Kumwenda Park. Look, Henry, I couldn't justify putting you in the starting 11 over Turnbull and Schwetsov, but my friend, you deserve a spot in WorkTheSpace folklore. Welcome to the bench. Keep that seat warm. Get ready to come on when you're needed. Oh, what a smile. That goddamn smile. When I whisper the name Vinko Kosic, there's one thing you think of, and it's money. Because this man, he's like a piggy bank. You smash him open and there's always more money in it than you ever expected. Vinko Kosic, of course, did end things at Towlaw when we were done. But we did also sell him twice and bring him back on free transfers 3 times. Has there ever been a player who's had £76 million made in sales whilst being signed on a free multiple times? I highly doubt it. There should be an achievement for this in Football Manager. Signed as a free transfer, sold to Aston Villa for 46 million, signed on a free transfer again, sold to Napoli for 28 million, signed on a free transfer again. I have no doubt if we'd continued to play on, I probably would have ended up selling him again. He had a loan spell at Real Madrid for crying out loud. What a crazy player Kosic is. Whilst he perhaps isn't a legend on the pitch in the same way many of these players are, I feel like he's memorable for having one of the more unique storylines of any player across any of my Let's Plays ever, and the bench would not be complete without him. I never realised how musical our streams have been over on Twitch until doing this list. Charlie Adam, a player we trained to play Deep Line Playmaker, a player who came over from St Mirren to play for the mighty Monopoly and propel us towards a promotion that really got us going, and after that, he retired and became a coach. But ultimately, he'll always be fondly remembered for this song. Just play the song. Nothing else is the song. Play it. Nothing else is needed. This will explain everything.
Charlie Adam, Charlie Adam, Charlie Adam, Charlie Adam.
Now, I appreciate a lot of the attackers on this list are Tower players, but they all have their own little stories, and Cancina's is a little bit different to everyone else's because it goes back to a summer transfer window where I may have been playing Football Manager after a few beers, and I decided to sign him whilst drunk. Usually this kind of move is not advised by me or any other Football Manager expert, but on this occasion, it worked out, didn't it? Yes, signed on a measly sum of money, really. £4 million from Independente. We signed Cancina, and in the later years he blossomed, but the reason he's on this list is because when we did the simming into the future of Tower, this man stayed at Tower for over 50 years as a coach, as an under-23s manager. A legend in his own right, a player who lived at Tower long after I left. I did some equations, I did some math. He spent more than half his life at one football club, and it was my football club, and I brought him there. How could he not be on this list? I would not have been able to forgive myself if we couldn't make a spot on the bench for him. Now, I'm going to be honest, Zanini probably feels quite hard done by here by the fact he sat on the bench and not higher up the ranks, because he's a phenomenal player, but he doesn't have the longest history with Monopoly. But you sometimes have a player who really changes things at a club. I'm sure you've experienced that in Football Manager, and Zanini was that for us. Forever Monopoly had been a team knocking on the door of a title chase, but never really pushing anyone to the wire. That was until Zanini joined us on a free from Roma and got 25 goals in a season, 37 in all competitions, and guided us to not just a Serie A win, but also a Europa 2 win, or Euro 2 Cup win. What an incredible player Zanini is. Once in a blue moon, the AI release a player on a free transfer, and you know you've got to sign him. This was that man for me at Monopoly. We signed him. He did the business, and he truly was just an absolute game-changing signing that I think single-handedly won us a title, and so I couldn't forgive myself if I didn't at least have him on the bench of our overall best 11. Whilst I couldn't quite justify putting him into the starting 11, Ilya Matasevic absolutely deserves to be on this list. Born a winger, taught to play deep line playmaker, and what a player he ended up being for Tower. Came through the academy, let me remind you, the 26-year-old. And you know what? He didn't ever put in the craziest of numbers, but when a player comes through your youth team, you always have a bit of a soft spot for them. And particularly with this guy, because he was born a winger. And I suggested in a video I was going to play him at deep line playmaker, and everyone told me I was crazy. I was told I was mad, and it wasn't going to work. Matasevic, thank you for proving them wrong and proving me right, kind of. I say that, let's be honest. He never put in the craziest of numbers, but a player who played a hell of a lot for Tower. 259 appearances, a 7.06 average rating. Mr. Versatile, the James Milner of Tower, dare I say. He didn't play fullback though. Ignore that. He's the James Milner of Tower. It's sticking. I'm trying to force it through. You can't stop me. Ilya, my friend, welcome to the bench. Get comfortable. I know this is an environment that you're pretty familiar with from your time at Tower. I know you're going to do us proud here. If I was doing a best 11 of literally the best players this year, this man would just be on the list, wouldn't he? Mike Frost. I realise if you've not watched Tower, you're now looking at this guy going, he's blooming good. How much did you pay? Oh, how much did I? There's a reason he's not in the best 11. I spent £300 million on him. I mean, we had the money. We could do it. We could, turn into the bad guys, be the team with all the money to throw. And to be fair, across 3 years, he put in some pretty good numbers in the shadow of Schwetsov. But I couldn't put him in the best 11. I couldn't. I can't work out if this is my biggest regret or not. I think the only reason it's not my biggest regret is because the video which we did where we signed him, I put a big clickbaity thumbnail on it and a load of people watched it. So clearly it was a stroke of genius to sign him. But it's still something that it goes through in my head. I'll be stood in queue, say at the cinema, or just going about my day-to-day life, and I sit there and go, was it the right decision to sign Mike Frost? Ultimately, I don't think it was. Anyway, guys, that wraps up this video from me today. Thank you so much for your support across FM 2020. I feel like this is a really nice way to close the book on what's been a fantastic chapter for the YouTube channel and Twitch page. Of course, FM 21's beta is just around the corner. I hope you guys are ready for it. And a little later in the week, I'm going to have a big update video just talking about my plans for the new year. So keep your eyes peeled for that one. And well, until next time, thank you for watching. I'll see you guys next time. It is me, Jack, and I'll talk to you guys in a bit. I'm out.